All right, I see that many of you have now arrived. So I think that we can now start. So welcome everyone, good morning. Thank you for joining us for this webinar on quick insights, fast facts to make the right business decisions. So I will start by presenting myself. I am Arthur. I am an insight consultant in innovation and market strategy at Ipsos Denmark. I am actually today at the office, and I know that I'm one of the very few lucky ones to be able to still come at the office. I'll be presenting today with Ali from Ipsos Strategy 3 UK and David from Novozymes in Denmark. So I will let you, Ali, introduce yourself first, and then we'll have David introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Arthur, and it's nice to see you in an office. I haven't been in one for about a year now, if you don't count my front room. I'm Ali. I'm an associate partner at Ipsos Strategy 3. For those less familiar with Strategy 3, it is the consulting arm of Ipsos, focusing on challenges like brand and
I think we lost the connection. At least I'm not hearing Ali.
Yes. Ali, can you still hear us?
I can hear you now. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yes, I'm Ali Azim. I'm an associate partner at Ipsos Strategy 3, the consulting arm of Ipsos. I'll hand it back to Arthur to introduce it.
Yes, thank you, Ali. So now, David, if you could introduce yourself.
Thank you, Arthur. Good morning, everyone. My name is David. I'm looking after market and consumer insights in one of our business divisions in Novozymes. I'm looking forward to the discussion we'll have this morning here. I'm joining you from my living room, not being at the office today, as I guess most of you.
Thank you, David. All right, so you now know a little bit more about who we are, but actually, who is Ipsos? I guess some of you already know us, but some of you might not. So Ipsos is a global market research company that has been ranked the first most innovative market research company in the latest Green Book Research Industry Trends Report. And what Ipsos can give you access is to 140 countries for fieldwork. What we have done so far is 40 million interviews. So that's huge, about half offline and half online. And we are throughout the world, 18,000 researchers helping more than 5,000 clients. So that's what Ipsos is. And then why are we here today? So we are here because we think at Ipsos that you should make strategic business decisions upon facts. Comprising on continuously being able to make research-driven business decision is not an option today. So Ipsos, as the world's most innovative research company, want to help you get there by adapting to the ever-changing market needs. So today, together, we will address why and how it is critical to understand consumers so that we can plan appropriately or react quickly to the impact and influence of consumers' evolving sentiment, behavior, and needs on your brand and your category or industry. So what we'll go through today as agenda is first, I will have you to participate in a very short survey through Mentimeter, linked to the tracker we've been doing in Denmark on What Worries the Danes, a tracker that we started in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. And this tracker helped us to show how fast sentiment is evolving nowadays. We'll also have Ali show you the importance of consumer centricity. And then I will introduce to how we can help you to conduct research when time is critical. David will also tell us about consumer centricity at Novozymes and how we at Ipsos are helping Novozymes to get these fast facts. So if you have any question or comments during this webinar, please use the question box. So you can find the question box in the panel showing on the right side of your screen. You should have an icon showing a bubble with a question mark inside of it. If you click it, then you can ask your question or write your comment and click send. At the end of this webinar, Nicolina, our communication assistant, will facilitate the Q&A session, and we will go through the question you have sent during the webinar. So, as I told you, let's start with this short survey. So, please grab your phone and go to menti.com. You can also scan with the camera app on your smartphone the QR code that is showing right now on the slide. And you should see a link popping up. You can just click on it. Otherwise, go to menti.com. And when you're prompted, type in the code 81 73 96 4. So menti.com 81 73 96 4. I'll wait 10 more seconds to give you time to access. All right, so here is our first question. How would you describe the market research industry today when it comes to execution? So you can answer with the open-end text boxes, and we will soon should be able to see some of your answers. All right, so we have a few words that are quite positive: innovation, strategic, good, but also some that are not so good. I can see slow, too slow, complex. All right, expensive, complicated. All right, so okay, the biggest ones are actually not the ones we'd like to see in big. Complex, slow, expensive, still good. It's showing up. That's good. Challenging. Too slow. Yeah. All right. Well, so we indeed see that the complexity and the lack of maybe agility, or that is not fast enough, is something that is popping up here quite in big. So thank you for sending through your answers. Now we'll have another question. And this next question is, what effect do you think COVID-19 had on the worry Danes have for the climate? So do you think COVID-19 made the Danes less worried about the climate or more worried about the climate? All right, so apparently less worried about the climate is winning. We still have some voters left. All right, so it seems like most of you, so 2/3 of the audience think that COVID-19 made the Danes less worried about the climate. Well, let's find out. And that's thanks to our biggest worries in Denmark study. So what worries Denmark? This helps us to know what keeps Danes up at night. This survey diagnoses the biggest social and political problems by asking the Danish citizens their opinion on the most worrying issues in the nation. So on the right side of the slide, you can see a chart starting in January 2020, where we can see that climate change was the biggest worry among Danes. But then COVID-19 stepped in and became the largest subject Danes were worrying about. In May and June 2020, we see that the state of the economy is the most worrying topic, and that's in line with the gradual reopening of Denmark. But summer sees COVID-19 cases increasing again, and COVID-19 becoming once again the clear biggest worry. And then we had November 2020 showing an all-time high COVID-19 worry level, with 60% stating it as a biggest worry. And that is likely due to the insurgence of new cases in Denmark, and also the outbreak of this new mutant coronavirus strain in the mink farms in northern Jutland. What we see is that climate change, after a very light increase over the summer, slumped back to only 7% among Danes' biggest worry in January 2021. So, is that aligned with your take? So the chart is not showing up, but we see that you were indeed right. COVID-19 indeed made the Danes less worried about the climate change. But now the question is this change in focus something perpetual and this will last, or is it only temporary? Our Ipsos theory of change, designed in our Ipsos Global Trends, can help us to understand how behavior is influenced and shaped. So our theory looks at how change operates across different timeframes through long-term macro forces, medium-term trends in society, and shorter-term signals which express real behavioral change. So the macro forces are the long-term shifts on the left side of your screen, which act across all markets and societies. These form the context against which people and organizations act. So we have identified 6 macro forces. We have the dynamic populations, the growing inequalities and opportunity, the geopolitical tensions, the fragile planet, technological tipping points, and the data world. At the other end of the scale, we have the signals that are localized and short-term expressions of change. They can occur at the level of a single country or a community within a specific area and will change depending on the target audience. In the middle, we have the trends. And these are cultural attitudes and values which emerge from the interaction between people and the planet. Trends can emerge, they can enter into mainstream culture and fall out of practice in response to macro forces and signals. What is important as well in this model is that it acknowledges the role of these feedback loops in terms of understanding the complexity in our world. So you have the macro forces that are impacting trends and signals directly, So that's the arrows you see on the top half of the diagram, and that shows the top-down change. But the decision made by individuals can also ladder up, and that's what you see on the lower part of the diagram through these feedback loops. So emerging signals of change can impact wider trends in society, which over time can also impact on our planet. So although we see that COVID-19 has shifted the concern about the climate down to the agenda, we do see this as a trend, so not as a trend, sorry, but rather as a short-term signal. However, COVID-19 will potentially influence behavior and attitudes towards climate and sustainability through these response feedback loops. So what we see is that we also have signals expressed via products. And that is actually very interesting to see that every year about 30,000 new products are launched in the US, and consumers are exposed to a massive number of brand stimuli. And that's on average 4,000 to 10,000 a day. So this is yet another argument why it is important to keep track of movement and be able to move fast, because consumers have already adapted to make fast, intuitive, and effortless decisions. So here you can see a few examples of new services and products from 2020, and you can see that, so that's mainly focusing on Denmark. You can see that it can be apps, it can be cosmetics, the new Starbucks coffee capsules from espresso machines, or new cars, new B&O headphones, Natoli plant-based sausages, or Tuborg alcohol-free beer. So given all these new products and services, could you tell us a bit more, Ali, about the importance of bringing consumer-centric products to markets?
Yeah, a very good point, Arthur. Thank you for bringing it up. And actually, I think it relates to a wider challenge that companies have. In essence, yes, we need to deal with big challenges around getting more consumer-centric, but also about bringing those products to market in a timely manner. And that's often the tension, being fast enough to react to those industry trends that you were speaking about just moments earlier ahead of the competitors. But you don't just have to do the speed thing, you also have to become more consumer-centric, as you mentioned, making sure that you've taken the time to fully understand consumer needs. And then finally, being able to adapt and react as we learn, because of course we're often venturing into new territories, and that requires us adapting when things work and when things don't work quite the way that we expect. Now, I didn't get into this earlier, but my background included working in startups, and in startups we do a lot on agile innovation theory, sprints, as you might know. So some of you may have some visions of bean bags in garages and whatever it is. But one thing that I can say for certain is it's not possible to just pick up everything that you see in startups and the thinking that they have in order to get things quickly to market and apply it 100% to larger companies, because as we know, larger companies don't work like startups. That being said, there are a few things that we can do and we can learn from agile theory that can help us address those challenges we mentioned just moments earlier. And so these are a few of the things of what I believe it means to approach challenges in an agile and collaborative way. So the first one amongst them is around working iteratively rather than just incrementally. So I'll get into the details of what that means with an illustration in a second, but this means not just doing your typical waterfall style of I've got to do piece A, then piece B, then piece C, and we're not going to change anything, but actually iterating each time and making sure we're improving. It also means working in shorter sprints of work. So instead of one large project plan end to end, we might actually break it out into smaller bits so that we can make sure we're adapting. And then quite critically, exactly as you said, Arthur, being flexible enough to incorporate consumer feedback throughout the process. And I just want to bring this to life with an example. And the example I've chosen to use to bring Agile to life is the Mona Lisa, because, well, why not? And here you can see an example of the Mona Lisa being created in an incremental fashion. And this might be familiar to how some people think about products. We're going to, you know, get the full definition version of this bit by bit until we're ready to launch. On the flip side, this is what iterative looks. So as we were saying, we need to think about iterative. And in this example, you can see in the first version of the Mona Lisa, she has her hand to her face. We've then changed that in the sketch, so it's not high fidelity yet, and we can do that quite easily. We then try a color scheme. We then change that color scheme, and then we have a nice perfected Mona Lisa. The real unlock, though, comes when we combine these two things, so being iterative and incremental. And you can see that here, that we're filling in the high definition of what this looks like over time. Now, just bringing this back to our 3 points earlier, you can see that one, we've worked iteratively rather than just incrementally. Again, this is something that we can learn and do. We've worked in short sprints of work. So whereas the first piece, the incremental one, was all the way from end to end, one piece of work, this one you can see there are key points that you can stop. And in essence, would be where during each of these sprints, we would receive and incorporate that consumer feedback. And that's how we are able to take some of that startup learning and apply it to our own work and business. So I'll pass it back over to you then, Arthur, on this.
Yeah, thank you, Ali. So yeah, we definitely see that agility is central in making the right business decisions. And now maybe David, you could tell us more about Novozymes company, the Novozymes company, and why you are on a journey to consumer centricity.
Sure, Arthur, thank you. Before I go in and talk about exactly our journey on consumer centricity, let me just put a few words to Novozymes and what exactly it is that we do, if there are some of you who don't know us. So in Novozymes, we are basically taking the challenges of the world and the planet and combining that with the biotechnology. And I think in that meeting is where you find Novozymes. So we are a biotech science company that are working all over the world to bring biological answers to all sorts of questions that companies and industries and sectors are facing. We are about 7,000 people. So for a Danish context, a rather big company, but in a global context, obviously a rather small family. We are a lot of scientists and world experts in biotechnology, but also people in commercial roles, people working with customers, but we are all, as I said, working towards the same purpose of coming with new and sustainable answers for the world's challenges. We are a leader in our industry, so we have almost half of the market share of biological solutions, industrial biological solutions, and we deliver that technology in about 130 different countries. To give you just a few examples of exactly where is it that we deliver value, there should be a picture here, but in 2022 we aim to help the transport sector to save 60 million tons of CO2 emissions by enabling production of bio-based low carbon fuels. Also in 2022 we helped to enable production of 500 tons of additional foods. And also in 2022, we actually helped to reach more than 4 billion people with more sustainable solutions within both the food sector and the household care sector on laundry detergent products. Now, that was a bit about Novozymes in general, but this is not only about biotechnology. We're here to talk about consumer centricity and insights. And this is something that has become very, very important for us in Novozymes over the last years. So for us to succeed, it's not enough to be world-class leaders in the labs and deliver the next new molecule. We really have to understand our markets, our customers, and also our consumers. And that has been quite and is still quite a journey for us in Novozymes, since we are, you could say, for some, an ingredient producer. So how can an ingredient producer actually know something about consumers or markets or commercial value propositions? But that is exactly what we are doing, because we understand that if we are to win and make this world more sustainable, we need to make sure that we have also the commercial and the consumer angle when we go to customers. So we have 3 different areas where we are using insights. It's in development of our strategy. It's to a larger extent in innovation. So make sure that we capture consumer feedback and input very, very early in the innovation phase. And then it's also in dialogue with customers. So we are using insights to actually shape how they are going to markets with their products. It could be a new laundry detergent SKU, for example, with our insights and with our knowledge about consumers all over the world. So we can leverage actually being a global company and very often working with the regional or local customers. I'll have a chance to give you an example a bit later, but Archie, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. So yeah, what we see is that there's indeed a need for FastFacts in your organization, and I'm pretty sure that many of you in the audience today will agree that you are also trying, or that you also want to ensure consumer centricity within your organization. So here we can have a few examples on why FastFacts might be needed. So it could be for market understanding and trends. So it could be, for instance, how many are flexitarians, how many uses this brand of detergent, what are attitudes on travel. It could also be linked to innovation. So for instance, we have 15 ideas. How can we prioritize based on what consumer want? What is the innovation? Is this innovation worth the investment? Which flavor should we introduce next? It can also be about positioning. So what is my brand stronghold versus competitor X? It can be which claim is most attractive. Does this logo bring the right association? It can also be a need of FastFacts for communication. So does this asset resonate well with consumers? How does this asset impact our brand equity? And finally, it could also be about activation. So is this trend relevant to activate via in-store material, or does this theme for our event attract attendees? Getting FastFacts has definitely been enabled with the new paradigm of do-it-yourself research. And that is because do-it-yourself research is now, first of all, intuitive because of how user-friendly do-it-yourself research has become. It is no longer how to understand platforms or on very rich web pages that are very confusing to navigate. It is also robust because it is now grounded in robust research approaches. So do-it-yourself research is no longer only 5 questions for a max 5 minutes length of interview out of a very, very broad NatRep sample. And it is also speedy and of high quality, because you should no longer make a trade-off between time and quality. Fast at Ipsos does not mean quick and dirty. And that's why we have decided to create IPSOS.DIGITAL. That's our new do-it-yourself research approach. So on this platform, you can do research in a do-it-yourself way. And what the overall philosophy of the platform is first to be embedded in technology with full end-to-end application, from defining a sample to automated reports that are, thanks to automation and artificial intelligence, using the best-in-class analysis and modeling. Then it is also a do-it-yourself platform where you are not left alone. You can get input and support from Ipsos specialized and expert researchers at any time. And finally, it is a platform where you talk to real consumers. So you have access to Ipsos' worldwide network of online respondents, which is the same high-quality, engaged, and well-profiled respondents network we use for traditional non-do-it-yourself studies. So do-it-yourself research enables you to get more iterative and incremental facts along the way to make the right business decisions. And what I can do now is to give you a few examples of what you can actually do on this platform. And we can start with DUEL. So DUEL is our behavior science empowered fast screening tool for making confident decisions on text or image based marketing elements, such as product names, product claims, it can be brand logos, it can also be flavor variants. So it is a simple gamified task to determine how consumers are immediately reacting to your marketing elements. We can have a look at the setup on the left part of your screen. So you see that it is actually very easy to set up. All right, so it seems like I'm having a small issue with the PowerPoint now. All right, I will ask you just 20 seconds. Sorry about it, PowerPoint was not happy about playing the video. So here we are again. Let me share my screen with you. Yes. So here we are again. Sorry for the small tech glitch. So on the left part of the screen, you can see the setup. So you just need to select your stimuli. So here, for instance, we've selected the celebrities pictures. Then, of course, before we have defined our sample target, and then you just need to click next, pay and launch, basically. And the output you get on the right part of your screen is actually a very easy to read dashboard that can be exported to Excel and to PowerPoint. It can help you to very quickly understand which marketing elements are to be prioritized, are to be reworked, or potentially eliminated. Then another tool I wanted to show you is the CreativeSpark. So this is a creative assessment solution that fuels the creative process by helping the advertisers and agencies to quickly learn, evaluate, and optimize creative to power brand growth. And what you get is state-of-the-art evaluation, including immediate emotional response. So we measure through webcam the immediate facial expressions, enabling emotional affect metrics for optimization of your creative. And that can be executed in 48 hours for a Genpop sample from 6,300 euros. So on the right side of your screen, you can see the output, and that's for a Volvo ad in Denmark. So you can see the key performance indicators, and then also these immediate facial expressions. For instance, here looking at happiness, and you can actually see the TVC that you might have seen on TV, and the level of happiness for each part of this TVC. So it is like super intuitive to use, and that is available directly from your browser in the dashboard. And so what is super interesting here and cool is that within this ad, when you see that the family is starting to rush, is stressed, and night is coming, and the mother is very tired and is about to have an accident on the highway, the level of happiness is literally dropping to very low. So that's what you can do on Ipsos Digital for creative assessment. And then we also have the FastFacts, and FastFacts is our solution to get fast answer to your ad hoc business question. So on the left part of your screen, you can see here how easy it is to set up. So let's take Denmark, for instance, and 500 respondents. Then you need to select the length of your survey. So we can take 10 minutes as an example, and then the area of interest. We can say beverages. Then what you are asked is who you would like to interview. So for this example, we'll take primary grocery shoppers, but it could also be a company-specific audience. Then we want national representative. That could also be custom. And you immediately get your delivery time, that's 72 hours, and the price, which is 2,330 euros. And what you get out of it is a dashboard where you can access your data, you can customize it, you can also export it to PDF, to a native PPT, to an SPSS file or an Excel file. You can also use our custom cross-tabulation and chart builder tool. The dashboard will automatically chart all your question types, whether it's a single and multiple answer, a grid, or for instance, an open end. And what you can also do on this dashboard is to create a cross-break directly into the dashboard. And then you can export this cross-break to PowerPoint. Very easy to use. So David, as Novozymes has been using this FastFacts solution on Ipsos Digital, maybe you could tell the audience a bit more about FastFacts. So what do you think, like top of mind about this this tool on Ipsos Digital?
Yeah, what I can tell first is giving you a bit of context. I can explain a case where we needed to act very quickly. So we were together with one of our global account teams had to do a customer visit, and it became very clear that we actually needed to quantify an actual consumer problem. In this case, it's about a washing machine actually smelling because of bad bacteria. We knew from a lot of home visits and qualitative interviews already that it was an issue, so it's no news to us. But we also knew that the customer wanted to quantify that, both the actual problem, so is it actually something that many people are concerned about, and also the value proposition. So if you have a product to offer that can tackle that problem, is that relevant to enough people? And so we discussed how can we actually go about that, and in that case it was very handy for us that we actually had a way to set up a survey. In this case it was in US, Germany and Japan, and I think within one day we could launch it, we could get results, and we could implement that in one of our customer meetings. That gave a whole new way of actually talking about the problem, that we could actually quantify. Normally it would have been much more troublesome or complex to first run a consumer study, analyze the data, that can often take weeks to get executed. But this here has given us some more flexibility that we can use, as I said, in this case with a customer interaction, but also when we are doing innovation sprints where it's often we don't know in advance what it is that we want to do. It can happen maybe in a few hour brainstorm that, okay, we actually want to quantify a specific issue here. So that was a very recent example from our work.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. So yeah, thanks for sharing with us your journey to consumer centricity. And then maybe, Ali, could you tell us more about how we at Ipsos can help our clients to run innovation sprints?
Yeah, gladly, Arthur. Thank you for asking. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are many things that as companies we can do to bring in some of that startup thinking and the agile way of working. Here at Ipsos, we've developed a bit of a methodology around it, which we call the InnoSprint process. And here we're trying to combine that consumer centricity and those digital capabilities in a way that's a bit more relevant. And in essence, we break it down into three main types of sprints. The first is a discover sprint, where we look to identify any unmet needs and prioritize the areas to focus on, what we call opportunity areas. And this is where we're exploring the spaces worth playing that are grounded in that consumer understanding and based on the team's aspirations and capabilities. So really understanding what is the goal and where should we play based on what consumers need. The second type of sprint, once you've discovered where to focus, is defining what might be a potential solution. So here we're ideating, getting very expansive, defining ideas and prioritizing our leading ones. And that again comes from a deep understanding of the opportunity space, diving into solutions and identifying the ones worth progressing, again, based on that consumer insight. And actually to decide on the best ideas, often tools like IPSOS.DIGITAL are exactly the ones that we would turn to. And then finally, developing out those winning ideas. So this is where we start adding that fidelity. I want you to remember back to our Mona Lisa. We've now got the clear sketch, and we're now turning it into the masterpiece that will hang in the Louvre. And that means adding the meat to the bones, turning those ideas into fully considered concepts, bringing in that consumer validation, and identifying what's going to be the largest business opportunities for us to focus on. And if you'll indulge me, I'll just bring this to life a little bit, because of course, these 3 Ds are fantastic. They're alliterative, but they don't tell you how exactly it works. Let me bring it to life in terms of what that would actually look like. So in our Discover Sprint, we are looking at working out what is the scope of what I like to call the exam question, or the question, the sign above the door, and what are the principles of our innovation? What are the specific details around where we can innovate and where we can't innovate, and just making sure that that's clear. As Saatchi from Saatchi and Saatchi once said, give me the freedom of a tight brief, and that's exactly what we tried to do here. The second thing is then around that exploratory qualitative research, making sure, again, we're getting that consumer centricity in, and then developing out those opportunity areas that we know there is appetite within the business to develop something. Moving on from the discover, as we mentioned, the define, this is where we're trying to come up with these great ideas. We will run ideation sessions, generating anywhere between 100 to 200 ideas. And then we'll very quickly start moving into some form of quantitative testing and getting a very quick feedback on which of those ideas are performing well. This then moves on to deciding then which of those ideas we should proceed with. And then finally, we have our develop sprints, where we are fueling our innovation pipeline with more developed out concepts. We start by creating the concept, but then we get the qualitative feedback and the quantitative feedback in order to align on which are going to be the 1 to 3 concepts that we take forward. So that's a whistle-stop tour of what the Agile Innovation Sprints look like, the InnoSprints process looks like, but just an example of how any company can do this. And as you can see, in record time, that entire process from when you start engaging your stakeholders on this is only 6 weeks. Over to you, Arthur.
Thank you, Ali. We're reaching the end of this webinar. So now let's have a look at our 4 key takeaways from today. So The first one is that the current pandemic is creating short-term signals, and these signals can potentially influence behavior and attitudes through the response feedback loops. It is also needed to make strategy-led decisions in your business to remain centric and enable growth. Do-it-yourself research enables you to get more iterative and incremental facts along the way to make the right business decisions. And finally, the innovation sprints can help your organization conceptualize new products and offers. So we are now reaching the Q&A session. Nicoline will help to facilitate this session.
Yes, thank you all. We have a few questions and comments here. So the first one is from Alicia. It's a comment on the What Worries Denmark study. So maybe you can elaborate on that, Arthur. The comment is, this is not actually a fair question or measurement. The question should have been, what are Danes worried about in the short and medium term? COVID-19 is an immediate threat compared to climate change. So these figures and the prioritization to COVID-19 are to be expected.
Yes, so the idea with our What Worries the Danes survey is to have what is on top of mind, what is worrying them the most. So as you say, we are mixing in there what we call trends and what we call short-term signals. But that is also quite interesting because it helps to see that actually COVID-19 took over the place, but also that when Denmark opened up again, the state of the economy became all of a sudden much more important than COVID-19. So yeah, so I get what you say, and indeed the climate change is a trend. So it's a midterm trend that is not on the same level as the COVID-19 short-term signal, but still, as we've seen through these feedback loops, we see that actually COVID-19 could have an impact on the climate change trend.
Great, thank you. We have a question here from Dorte that says, would you say that agility and iterative plus incremental ways of working becomes harder to do successfully during COVID-19, where people are working from a distance? And a theory on these working methods depending on people being able to be where needed physically?
It's a very good question. If I can take that one, because I think it's quite relevant to the challenge we've had. In full transparency, about this time last year, I was really wondering one of two things. Either I'd be an incredibly busy person over the next year, or I would have literally nothing to do and would be sitting at home, reading books or something. It ended up being the former, not the latter, thankfully. And the reason is because we developed tools in order to do many of these innovation practices digitally. And let's be clear, some of our clients were very skeptical because they've always done these types of activities face-to-face. I'm sure you've all been there, sitting down on large tables with lots of sticky notes and Haribos around the table where everyone's sitting down and talking about things. How can you possibly do that online? I'm sure you also are asking yourselves. And that was exactly what we found. But what we ended up doing was bringing that to life in a digital and a digital way, using digital tools like Mural or Miro in order to run these sessions, and it was incredibly successful. One example, and it's an open case, so I can talk about it with GSK, where we were helping them build out their innovation pipeline. It was again, they were quite skeptical. They loved the process. In fact, over 80% recommended it either as good or even better than doing it face to face, and they generated over 25 of their 30 end ideas were meeting their targets to go to the next level, their activation targets, which is unheard of for the company in previous examples. And in fact, we went on to be nominated for an award with the MRS for that particular process. So yes, it is most certainly possible.
Thank you, Ali. So we have another question saying the platform Arthur showed looked really good. Can everyone get access to the platform? And can someone from the Ipsos side maybe help me with a brief intro for my team?
Yes, absolutely. So the platform can be accessed by everyone. So you just need to go IPSOS.DIGITAL. So that's the URL you see on the screen now, and you just need to create an account there. And then, of course, if you need any brief intro from us, that is fully possible as well. And you can actually see at the bottom of this slide my contact details. So you can send me an email there, or you can also contact us from Ipsos.DK.
Thank you. And then we have a question for David. How do you see your insight division being different from more traditional FMCG companies? Do you, for example, also work with innovation sprints? And do you do this with your customers, for example, FMCG's companies, or something Noah Science do and then push to customers?
So I think that's a good question. The main difference is the scale and, in all honesty, the budgets. So the FMCGs are having the biggest budgets and doing maybe 10 different versions of these things. So we are a small team doing this. I think that is the main difference. But it's the methodologies, the things we are looking at are often very similar, and that's also why we can actually put a lot of value and interesting discussions to them when we do that. And we also do co-projects, co-insights projects with customers.
Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely the size and the scale, that is the difference.
Great, thank you, David. Then we have a final question. Can the Ipsos digital solution also be used with client contacts, for example, a satisfaction study?
Yeah, very good question. Right now, no. So that's not possible yet. Right now, the only sample you can use is our Ipsos panel. But stay tuned during 2021, because we will actually be implementing this in the next month. So yeah, stay tuned for using your own client database.
Great, thank you. We just got another question here from Alicia. Could the sprint process be used in other applications, for example, developing a segmentation or informing approach?
I think that's a really good question. In short, yes, there is a way that you can leverage it. Obviously, changing a few things. So I think there are a few principles. The first one is around virtual workshopping and how you can leverage those tools I spoke about, like Mural, like Miro, in order to run interactive sessions. So I think that can be leveraged. Two, some of the sessions specifically lend themselves to other challenges. So for example, you might find an activation workshop on a segmentation requires you to come up with lots of ideas and prioritize them. Well, that's no different to what you would do here. It would require a little bit of a different thinking, though, on how do you piece all of this stuff together in order to make a consistent and end-to-end approach and project.
Great, thank you. So I guess that was the last question. So yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all for attending. And then if you would like to be part of our next webinar event on balancing the green economy and profitability on March 25th, you can already sign up on our website, Ipsos.DK. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for your questions. Have a good day and stay safe. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.